Okay, guys, welcome back to the It Girl podcast. I am here with
Adel.
We're so excited to have you. Lily runs Clyque, the label. She's a fashion designer girly, my favorite kinds of girlies. So tell us about yourself and how you got started and everything you want people to know about you.
So I am born and raised LA native, and I have been in the retail fashion space for almost 20 years now, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You look 18, so that's really crazy.
I'll take it. Botox.
Yes. We love a Botox moment.
And so I've always been in retail, specifically at the customer service side.
Horrible.
I know.
Worst experiences of my life.
Yes, but you need it. You need it. And
you
it's
don't know how to take on the world until you've worked retail.
Truly, and it has taught me pretty much everything I know. And so I've worked in that regard for pretty good amount of time. I opened my own store. I worked as a buyer. I did all the things, and then I created Clyque out of like this need for the brand in general. And now it's almost 5 years, and here we are.
I love it. I think it's so chic and amazing. I'm into the elevated basics thing. I think you can never have too many good basics, so I'm really into it. What was your store?
So I had a store called LA, actually. It was spelled out, so ELLE space A, and it was my baby. I had it for almost a decade.
I could not imagine having a store in Los Angeles.
It was rough. It was very rough.
Where was it?
It was in the Valley. I'm from the Valley.
Okay.
And it's where I grew up. I felt like I had a connection there, a community there, so it made sense for me. And I was so sad to have to close it, but after COVID, everything had changed, so it just definitely was time to move on and just
Seems
focus.
Like such a hard job to run a store here. I couldn't imagine.
It is. It's harder to maintain than anything. Running it is fun, right? Like you're playing shop all day with you hire girls that are fun to be around, and it's all just good vibes. But just on days where it's just quiet or it's raining and you're like, wow, I'll just sit here and twiddle my thumbs all day.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff got to be a little challenging, but I felt creatively I wasn't really pushing myself. And so that's where really Clyque came into play.
And how did you get started with it? What was the first step when you were like, okay, I kind of have this idea. I know I want to make a line. What was the next step after that?
I had a lot of ideas to get the project started, and basically all focused around bodysuits to start. I worked as a buyer for so long that I felt that this is a niche that no one's really touching. And I said, I'm going to do this brand. I'm going to make them super simple bodysuits, no bells and whistles, comfortable enough to wear from day to night, and just black and white. Simple. And I was lucky enough to have a friend who was already manufacturing some stuff here in LA.
Oh, that's so nice. That's one of the hardest parts is finding a manufacturer. All my fashion girly friends, that's their hardest thing is finding a manufacturer.
The hardest. And manufacturers that are trustworthy and...
Oh, they'll run off with your money.
They will.
They will run off with your money.
The minute you're not paying attention. And I will say it's still challenging, even though I have this connection with the women I work with, which I love them so much. It still has its ups and downs, and it's, everybody at the end of the day is taking care of themselves.
And it's all manufactured in LA?
Everything is
That's
done
amazing.
Here. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. And so I had pretty much this plug, and I was very lucky with that. I can't lie. And it just made it a lot easier. But I just went ahead and just jumped right in. And it's been almost 4.5 years now.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's really amazing. What do you want to do with it? We talk a lot about longevity with it girls and how sometimes being an it girl can be a very fleeting thing. We see it girls that pop up and disappear. We see it girls that are lasting forever. We see fashion brands that pop up and disappear, sadly. What are your plans for longevity of being an it girl and for your business?
What I want Clyque to represent is very much what I coincide with. I just want it to feel very timeless. And ultimately for me, Clyque is a lifetime kind of concept, right? Like they're basics that you're supposed to have for years to come, and they're filling in gaps in your capsule wardrobe that potentially you'll have forever. And I feel like I wanted to resonate with people that this is your go-to. And I feel like with me, even as far as like in the influencer space, I like to just be like your go-to gal. Like if you need help with finding a link to this or that or whatever it may be. And I don't know, I just feel like trends come and go, but for brands to really put their stamp on your life, it's really being a part of your everyday. I feel like if you buy a dress from a brand that you're wearing to like a wedding, you probably like 9 times out of 10 you won't go back to that brand, right? But basics, if you really feel like they work for you and like the qualities, what your expectations are and all that kind of stuff, you'll continuously go back to that brand furthermore. So that's who we want to be as a brand. And I feel like, I don't know, I want to be like your go-to in the clutch moment kind of concept. And I guess, long story short, a heritage brand.
And you've never lived anywhere other than LA?
No.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know. I'm 37, which is wild. But I have been born and bred in LA, and I just find it to be like the coolest place. And I don't know if I'll
I did
ever
not
leave.
thrive in LA.
Really?
I did not thrive in LA. I thrive in New York. I did not thrive in LA at all.
Where are you from?
I'm from Seattle.
Okay.
And it's crazy to me, like someone who's been here their whole life. Like that is absolute. But I feel like when it clicks for you, it clicks for you. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. Kind of like New York. It's you either really fit in or you really don't. So, but I love that you love it, and like it has, and I love that you have a brand that stimulates the economy here. I feel like that's so important. And I feel like the manufacturing side in LA is so special because those people work their butts off, number one, and number two, those manufacturers stay there forever. Like they are really loyal to LA. Yeah. And I feel like that's such a special thing that you can give back to the community in that way, and like have something that is produced in LA and made in LA and is authentic. Yes. I feel like that also will aid in the longevity of just being like, this is a staple of Los Angeles. So on the brand side, because you're an influencer and you're a brand owner, how do you decide what influencers you work with when it comes to Clyque?
I feel like in the beginning, I used to really be super focused on like who's going to create the best content as far as aesthetics go. And I've learned that in today's world, aesthetics don't really translate.
It's changed so much. People ask me all the time, how do you decide like who's an it girl? And I'm like, it's not what you would think anymore. It used to really be like when I lived in LA, it was like who has the most curated, perfect content, and that was all brands wanted, and that is not it anymore. It's more, I feel like it's who they reach too.
Yes. But I think like to that, aesthetics are great for like if you want to like, I don't know, hire somebody for like content to use their photos for your page. Great. All good. But as far as like reaching an audience and like really having community hold on to what you're linking and what you're recommending, I feel like there are very few that do that, and there's like a handful of girls right now that I'm personally obsessed with, like Courtney Grow and Gab Gofis. Are you familiar with these girls?
I know Courtney.
Okay. I can't get enough. Like her stories load for me, and I'm always like, what is she linking? What is she linking? And that's who we like to like gift to, like people who really engage their audience, and everything that they are recommending is amazing and they're true. And I hate to say it, but like sometimes the uglier the stories, the better.
It's like, I'm glad that shift has happened. I did not like the heavily curated, and I wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
I was not successful at it when I lived in LA and I was trying to be an influencer. I just wasn't good at faking it. I would see it would be like we would all get gifted stuff, and I lived with influencers, and I would see, I'm like, oh, she's got like a plant in it, and she like set this whole thing up, and she's got a light, and she's got a tripod, and this whole thing set up, and I'm like, mine doesn't. I just took a picture of it. I just took a picture of it on my couch. I didn't think of it. And then the brands would be like, we need more context. There's not enough context to this. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, okay, I guess it's an advertisement. Yeah. And now it's not. Now it's like, okay, this is me unboxing this, sitting on the floor in my apartment. This is me trying on the tank top. That's it.
Yep.
And it's not about, but I feel like that's just so much more authentic of like, that's what you do. You don't go home and set up a stage to try on your clothes. You just try your clothes on.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like for those people who still do that and who are super focused around that, more power to them. I personally still appreciate that. Like, I think it's very appealing and it's attractive. You can't lie.
I just am jealous that I can't do it.
I feel like
mine comes from jealousy. I'm just like, I can't. I'm not an aesthetic girly. It's just not in me.
But maybe your aesthetic is authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And that's, to me, by all means, like, that's the best. And I feel like I'm constantly going to that person for more recommendations and like genuine input versus looking at somebody who created this setup and just took a picture of it. but what about it? Is it good? Does it last? What happens when you wash it? Like, people want information.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to what you were saying about like who to gift. I like to gift people who are talking to the camera, putting things on in a try-on haul, and like maybe there's a little mess in the background, like super raw, just kind of very much like, I threw this on and this is what I'm wearing today. And not every day is going to be this like gorgeous outfit, this suit with the boots and the everybody's wearing a t-shirt and jeans Monday through Friday, and that's real. And I feel like those people who demonstrate that and really show that lifestyle, those are the people who translate, and that's kind of who we like to gift. I mean, we like to gift all kinds of people, but to me, I think that's who resonates the most with everybody.
And you've seen as a brand, because I like as a follower and a watcher, I've seen that shift of, okay, it was the heavily curated girl. Like that was it. That was all you had to do. You did not stand a chance if you did not have some unbelievably curated content. Those were the girls who were becoming successful. And now it's like the Victoria Parises who are like, this is me in my house hanging out. There's crates in the corner. It's not cute. But as a brand, you've seen the conversion shift as well. Like, okay, these are the girls who turned it over and would sell out a tank top. And now it's like, okay, this is the girl that sells it out. The girl whose apartment is a mess.
Yes. Absolutely. I just feel like that's a new wave, you know, and also with the algorithm and all the changes that is
the Instagram algorithm.
Yeah. But I will say that I feel like TikTok really pushed this a bit too.
I totally think it was TikTok.
Yeah.
I totally do. Because people were making, like, TikTok is very raw.
Yes.
And just, I mean, and it didn't even have filters at first.
No.
So it was like, it was you.
Yes. And we've noticed that too, because on the Clyque account on TikTok, like, we're cool on there. Like, we post all the things, but it's still very much the same stuff that we shoot for Instagram, just like a little bit more iPhone-y. And I feel like it still isn't biting all the way. This is definitely one of the things I need to work on. Like, it's on my list. But I feel like they don't even want that. They want you literally sitting on the ground saying, okay, this is the Pia tank and this is how it fits on and this is what it looks like with jeans, and done. And I think that there's like a natural authenticity to it that you just can't cheat.
All these girls that I interview, I'm like, it's the girls that are just like so real and don't try. It's an effortless cool and it's hard to achieve effortless cool. It is. It's just as hard to be effortlessly cool as it is to be insanely curated.
Yes.
So it's just like another almost unachievable. It's like it's got to be innate. It's got to be in you. You can't fake it. You just have to be effortless. Yeah. But I feel like your brand does a really good job of being like that effortless.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely more like our ethos. It's like a less is more, effortless.
The LA girl.
Yeah. You know, we were talking a little earlier about how, you know, living in New York and stuff. I feel like New York style is so vast from LA style.
It's crazy.
Truly. Like, this is where I think I would thrive in New York. There's certain areas. I feel like this is one of them. I would love to live in New York just to dress, because no one really dresses here. And if they do, it's like, why? Where are you going? What's the story?
Yeah.
I think LA, like California cool is a real thing. And the downplay of like the outfits is very much like our everyday lifestyle. So I think the brand really resonates with that because, like I said, we're just very casual for our day to day. And so the brand is very much an LA brand for sure.
Yeah, New York is so fun. The way that you get to dress and like the things. And it's like, I felt like I didn't fit in LA, and then in New York, I'm like, I don't think to pair cowboy boots with an oversized T-shirt and a plaid skirt. That didn't even cross my mind. And then my headphones are supposed to be decoration as well. It doesn't even cross my mind. But the wild outfits are so fun. I do love the LA fashion. Do you guys work with any New York girls, or you guys primarily send to LA girlies?
So that's what we're focusing on now. There's a couple girls that we've worked with in the past, but like, I don't know. I just feel like that's like a market for us.
Yeah.
Like, I think we would really do great in New York. It's just, I find that like LA brands, the algorithm, it's only showing LA everything. So I feel like we got to cross over into the East Coast. Even Florida, I feel like would be really great for us.
Florida would be great.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's like a different world. Also,
it is.
I've been so lucky that like a lot of these girls that we work with, I'm familiar with. And so I feel like I know no one in New York.
Yeah.
Except you now.
It's totally, I feel like I know everyone in New York. Like I'm like, oh, this girl. Oh, I know her. We're all in a realm. And now that I'm in LA, I'm like, these are not my people. I don't know these people. These are not my people. I do feel like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
Like, these are not my people. It's such a different vibe. Do you see yourself ever branching out of basics into like that kind of more wild fashion, or you want to stay tried and true staple pieces?
So I love the idea. I just feel like when I see brands branch out too far, I feel like that's where things start to get a little hectic. So, and I feel like it also, you lose your voice. So I feel like we're going to focus on classics and just keep that going for a little bit and just tweak them a little bit to make sense for us. We are dropping new categories in the next few months for summer that I'm really excited for. Actually, one of the drops is very New York inspired. It's
we love that.
Hot summer in New York kind of vibes.
Yes, love it.
So I feel like there's elements of it that we'll play with, and I do try to create a little bit more interesting pieces, like tops that are a little bit more like off the shoulder or whatever, to make it a little spicy. But overall, like, I want everything to feel still like classic for year-round wear. So I feel like down the line, maybe.
Do you guys have a brick and mortar?
Not yet.
Oh, I feel like a pop-up would be so fun. There's been so many New York pop-ups that have been like so exciting this summer. I feel like a pop-up. Have you seen like the cafes? Everybody's doing a cafe.
I've seen the cafes.
Oh, a Clyque cafe.
But like that's not a thing in LA yet.
No, it's not.
So I feel like maybe we should just be the first.
Yeah. No, the line. Oh my gosh. I went to an event and it opened to the public the next day. There was a line wrapped around the corner to go to this makeup cafe. And it's just a store. And I'm like, you've tricked everyone into thinking that this is it's just a store.
Yeah.
You might as well walk into Sephora. There's no difference. They just have cake pops in the corner.
But you know, the culture in New York for that kind of stuff is set up for it.
Yep.
You know, like it makes sense. Here it's like, where are we going to park? What's the story? Like,
yep. You offer people in New York some coffee and you tell them that it's an experience that they can go to for the day. Oh, they're there.
Yes, absolutely.
There was one that they literally were just offering free floral arrangements and the line. And I was like, it's just some free flowers, and you had to spend money on the product.
Yeah,
they tricked you into buying.
You paid $300.
Yeah, I was like, you just spent $100 and you got some flowers. Did you realize that? Like, it really is a thing, and New York does love it, and it's cool that New York people come out. But I think a Clyque cafe would be really cute.
I agree, and I feel like we should definitely get on that.
Get the it girls in there.
Yes.
And what role do you feel like it girls play in your business? Because I feel like you are friends with all the it girls, you know all the it girls, you're in with the it girls, which is a talent in and of itself to kind of like, you know, just be around the right kind of people when you're a brand owner. Do you feel like that's what's really like propelled your success, is just who you know, or do you feel like there's been specific it girls that have blown it up, like, oh, we got this top on somebody and then it was next level?
I feel like there's a combination of both. Well, first, I definitely have to say that all of our girls are Clyque girls. All of them are it girls, and everybody who shops from Clyque and
Clyque is a brand for the it girls.
It is an it girl brand.
That is why Lily is here, is because she has an it girl brand. She's an it girl herself, as an influencer, and it's an it girl, and they're just our brands. They're just those brands that you're like, that's what the it girls are wearing.
Yeah, and you know, I feel it's very much a combination of both. In regards to, I started with like just putting it out there on my friends. And everyone was so great and posted and shared the love. And I was so lucky in that regard that the first drop that we had sold out in literally, I think, 9 minutes. And
that's insane.
Yeah, I was literally driving on the freeway with my best friend, and we were on our way to like our launch event. And I was like hyperventilating. I couldn't even drive. Like, what is going on? I did not expect that. I was thinking, oh, it's going to take, a couple months. Like, it's going to be some time. I was so pleasantly surprised, and I think a lot of that had to do with like the hype and all those kinds of things surrounding the girls really just pushing it forward.
That's the power of it girls. I feel like there's so much, I ask because I feel like there's so much negativity around girls that trend on the internet and girls that are trendy, and there's always like this, you just have to hate her because she's popular, or hate her because she's doing the thing, or she's blowing up, and it's like, look at the power. Selling stuff out in 9 minutes. That's amazing. Like, that's the power of women. You came up with this great idea. Then another woman wore it. It's a woman-owned brand with a woman wearing it, and she sold it to other women. Like, that's our power.
Yes.
And I feel like it girl power is just underrated.
If you can find the right group of people. Yeah. I feel like there are, unfortunately, seeds that you can't avoid.
Yeah.
But I feel like that also was pre-COVID. And I think the hype concept has dwindled down a little bit. I feel like, we were really lucky to drop all of our brands like during a time where like drop culture was really strong. And while that may have kind of dwindled down a little bit, I do feel like it's so nice to get your cosign from people that you do respect and admire in this community as far as like influencers go. And having them really wear your stuff and just, even if they're taking the time to talk about the fabric, to talk about the fit, all these kinds of things, I feel so honored every time. Because I think, some people do really value what they're saying to their audience, right? They won't just post anything. So if they take the time to really like share, I think it's like the greatest honor. And so there's that component of it. But I do feel like it's harder now to really like push forward brands because there's so much out there and it's so oversaturated. So I do feel like it's a little bit more challenging, but with the right girls and like the right language, I think it's good. But as far as it girls go, I feel like there's a lot of them these days that are on Substack. Are you familiar with Substack?
Yes. I was just talking with my PR girly about Substack. And I was like, I want to get into it. I literally was like, can my assistant do this? Because she's younger than me. And I'm like, I'm lost. I'm like, what? But it is a real major thing. Like if you're someone watching this for tips on how to grow as an influencer or how to start a brand, Substack. It's the thing.
It is. And it's just so much like easier now because before it used to be like drop culture, people were freaking out to buy something. And now it's kind of taken this tone where it's like, okay, maybe we're not freaking out as much, but I want to know more and I'll come back to it and it lives there. So if you're taking the time to really like recommend products and things like that and take just a little bit more effort, I think it goes a long way. And I think that's where things are headed. So again, super fortunate that people are plugging us on there as well. And I think YouTube's also making a comeback. But yeah, I feel like that's where everything is.
So where do you want to take it? Where do you want to take Clyque? Where do you want to take you as an influencer? What are your next goals of like, okay, this is my next level move?
I want Clyque to feel like a heritage brand, and I want it to remain on the path that it's going as far as like this timeless, everyday kind of collection. And I'd like it for it to be like in stores that I love and respect. Wholesale is definitely like the direction for us. We've just been direct to consumer this whole time, which again has been really fun yet challenging, but it's now time to like free the little bird.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited for that next step for us. And I think that's like the best way to scale the brand to reach a larger audience. So that's kind of like what I'd like for it to be. That's the next step.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know.
Do you consider yourself an influencer?
It's funny because I really don't.
I feel like your DNA is I think of you as a brand owner.
Yeah.
And I discovered you as an it girl through your brand. And people have such nice things to say about your brand. By the way, everyone I know that wears your brand, shops your brand is like, oh, the fabric is amazing. The fabric is amazing. Everybody has such positive things to say. And so I feel like you were, like you said, kind of ahead of the time. You were before the like influx of like every single person having a brand. So I feel like I think of you as like a respectable brand owner.
Aww.
But do you like do you consider yourself an influencer? Is that something that you're interested in, or is that kind of like if you want to have a brand, you got to do it?
Well, first, thank you. Those are really sweet words. And it makes me so happy that people feel like that because
they love it. They love the fabric.
It's just so hard to relay over like TikTok or Instagram, like, hey, you just have to touch it. Like, I promise you it's really good. You just have to feel it. But as far as your question, I mean, I feel like I think it goes with the territory a little bit because I am so passionate about my collection and what I'm making that I feel very much like I have to represent it in the best light. And it's also seeing it on somebody is the only way to really understand like what to do with it. I think a lot of time with basics, it's very hard to say like, well, just buy it and you'll figure it out. Like people need to visualize it, and there's no real rush or urgency to like really buy into it because it's not like a dress you wear to a wedding or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more like an investment kind of thing. Like you're investing in a brand and a lifestyle. So I like to be the face of it so that people really understand like look, this is me Monday through Friday. This is how I'm wearing it. I mean, I'm wearing the walker today.
Yeah.
It's just part of my everyday. So I feel like I need to be a part of it and to like push it. But as an influencer, I guess, I really just have fun. And I feel like there's a handful of people that really are ride or die for me and Clyque.
I love that.
I feel like they keep me interested in doing it. And I feel not a sense of responsibility, but I feel like I need to do it for my girls. Like I need to be staying on top of it and pushing forward for them, because I will say as I get older, I'm tapping out a little bit.
I am so disinterested in it. It's not even funny. And I feel like when I get any kind of like hate or anything, I'm like, I don't even want to be here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even want to post
like
on
it
TikTok.
here.
I don't like it here. I don't want to film myself. That is why I started interviewing other people, is because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to talk about me, number one.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what other women have to say. I feel like there's room for positive media that's positive for women and things like that. And that's not, just another thing that's exploiting women. But I just was like, I literally, every time I film a TikTok, I think, I don't want to be here. I don't enjoy it. I really don't.
To be honest, I don't either. And then the minute like one or two negative things come in, I'm like, okay, there you go. That's
Do
all
you
I
feel
need.
like you experience like a lot of the internet toxicity that comes with it? Because some people are built for it. And for me, I'm just like, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it for me. I'm like, I don't want to be communicated with like this.
Yeah.
And I could just, you can shut it off. And then it's like, nothing ever like pulls me back in to be like, I really want to post a picture of me so that people can say something mean to me. I don't ever have that urge.
I don't have too much negativity, I will say. But I have two conflicting personalities. I am a Capricorn, and then
I'm a Capricorn too.
Oh my God, that explains a lot. That explains why you're a go-getter. So that's the thing. I am a Capricorn, so like I want to hustle and like be there and be present and just like do it because I know it's good for me and my business.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to not. You see this thing that's working, and it's like you would be silly not to touch it a little bit. Yeah.
But then my moon sign is a Cancer. So then when there is something negative or it's not translating as well, then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, never mind.
The girls that I interview and I'm friends with and all these it girls, I'm like, ladies, I don't know how you do it.
I think that social media, I mean, we can have a full 6-hour conversation on this, but too many people feel like they can just say it and it's okay. But just like you said, you'll never say it to my face. So if you feel that you couldn't say it to someone's face, then maybe you shouldn't type it.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really realize, like we had a sample sale recently, and, sample sale is a sample sale. But everybody knows you come in, you buy whatever it is. It's usually final sale. It's dirt cheap.
I've never been to one that wasn't final sale.
Literally, it's dirt cheap, and then that's that. And so, we had it online to really make it available for everybody. And there was I'll never forget this one girl who messaged me personally, DM'd the brand, commented on the photos, and was like, what was that? That was garbage. Do better. And I'm like, what? And
I feel like making a sample sale online is such a favor to so many people, because anyone that New York girlies, the New York sample sale is like that scene in Mean Girls where everybody turns into an animal.
Yes.
That's what the New York samples. I will not go to them. Everyone's like, did you go to the so-and-so sample sale? I'm like, why? So I could stand in line for 3 hours, basically get punched in the face while trying to grab something, and then argue with someone about why I saw it first. And they will throw down in a sample sale.
Absolutely. And so it just goes to show that, regardless of what it is, people have their opinions, and everybody else was happy. It is what it is.
That girl needs to go to a 360 sample sale, because that is the most wild experience. They take your bag at the door. They last time they gave me somebody else's purse, and I was like, okay, good to know somebody could just walk out with your purse. You have to check your purse at the door. There's a line for 3 hours. You are literally fighting with people. You could be like, this is ripped in half, and they're like, $160. That's the price. They don't care.
No.
It is like the Wild West of shopping. So the fact that you made it online is so generous.
I think so, but the point is people just will say whatever, and you're never going to satisfy everyone, so you just have to be okay with that, And
having a brand is expensive, and I don't feel like people take that into account, that running a brand is incredibly expensive. Not just the time. If you put aside the fact that you have to give your life to it and it's truly blood, sweat, and tears, you are putting your own money into it most of the time. And it's to make a colorway or make a new SKU is insanely expensive.
There's also minimums that people don't realize, you know, and especially even if you are producing overseas, whether it's there or here in LA, there's all kinds of things that you have to consider, and it's not just as easy as, okay, no worries, I'll just make it.
Yeah.
You have to make hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of units, and people don't realize that's not easy. It's not an easy fetch at all.
Did you fund, if you don't mind saying, did you fund your brand yourself? Was that all your personal?
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. It was. My parents were so amazing and helped me with my store back in, when did I start my store? 2012. And so with that, I was able to like save and really put money aside because I knew I wanted to do this at some point.
Yeah.
And I started Clyque in 2019 with all cash.
Are there misconceptions that you wish you could clear up with every single person that you're like, I just wish people knew this about running a brand and they wouldn't be so judgmental?
I used to, and now I just kind of am like, I'm going to do me. I'm going to do what I think is best for the brand. And I think what I've learned that sticks out the most for me is that the more I do things from what I truly want or believe, it translates best. The minute I start listening to the chirping of like all the either the criticism, I think feedback is great and I take all positive or negative feedback into consideration. But if people start kind of like projecting too much of like just like their opinion that, you know, if they're not really aware of all the ins and outs, then I just kind of feel like I'm going to do what I think is best. And it most of the time, 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.5 times out of 10, translates the best.
Is there something that you wish you knew when you started your brand? If someone that's listening is wanting to start their own brand, what is something that you're like, this is my best piece of advice, and this, if I had known this, I could have skipped a lot of missteps?
If someone would have told me, focus on the long run versus the short term, that would have been really nice. I think especially with the social media aspect, I think there's this need to like have this hype and this immediate urgency of like, is it translating? Is it working? Am I getting the likes? Am I getting the sales? Or all this kind of like push around the immediate right now kind of concept. Then I feel like it would have been nice to know that what I'm doing is building a long-term brand that, again, I want it to, you know, stand through the test of time. Then I need to focus on other things and also focus on the marketing and also email strategy and SEO and all of these kinds of things. And it's all worth it for the long haul. I think in the beginning I focused so much on like, again, the urgency and the social stuff. And that would have been really good to know.
Were there any missteps that you're like, wow, I wish I could have skipped that you were like, or any small, maybe not mistake, but just a misstep where you're like, wow, that was something that could have been avoided, that in hindsight, you're like, okay, I see where that I went wrong with that?
I got excited during COVID, pandemic, whatever you want to call it. Business was great, right? Everyone was home and they were placing their orders and it was booming for everyone.
And the loungewear basic, that's what we were all wearing.
Yes. We basically ended up creating way more units in certain collections because we thought that the niche was there. And then the world started opening up again. And so there I got a little excited and I raised all my units by like thousands and I kind of paid the price, but we figured it out.
But see, that's a hard one. Supply and demand. That's a hard thing to follow with following trends. And I feel like that was a tricky time for a lot of brands. But like Skims, the queen, that worked for her.
Yeah, I mean, the variables around that are, you can't beat it. But I feel like for a small business, you know, even making 100 units is a lot, you know, that's a lot of, and everything is, you know, is once it's in your hand and you've paid for it, you have to get rid of it.
I know.
Right?
That's the scariest thing is when like all my friends that have brands and they get these boxes and boxes, I just look at it and I'm like, you got to get rid of every single one of those.
Yes. And you have to think about like how hard one sale even is. Even for someone with a small business, you know, they're making, who's just starting out, like it could take months to get rid of just 100 units, let's say. So I feel, you know, at that time it was really hard it was challenging for me to like a hard pill to swallow, I guess I should say, to just be like, wow, I really cut all these units, and I got excited and I followed the hype, and what I should have done was stick to my guns and my process and not really, had been riding that wave so hard. And now I feel like we have like a really good system, and I'm just happy to restock. If it sells out, that's all good.
Yeah. Do you feel like social media is really your driving force when it comes to marketing? Do you feel like that's where you're like, okay, I know I can sell this out if we get it on one specific girl, or this kind of campaign really just skyrockets everything?
Yes, but that's not a good thing, I think.
Okay. And why is that?
I think that we all have to, as brand owners, assume that if Instagram was to blow up tomorrow, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
What you need to focus on is really getting in with your community and paying a lot more attention to those marketing options that you have available to you. I think social media should almost act like as an added bonus versus like your bread and butter, because it's not translating the way that it used to. It shouldn't be your only way to communicate with your girl.
And where do you think do you think that's like newsletters, the Substacks, like is that where you think directly talking to them is email campaigns the way to go?
I think email is good. I mean, I do still think, social is definitely, keep writing it.
Yeah.
But I think that people really need to reinforce also the email aspect. I think like also creating opportunities for them to like really engage with you, like whether it's creating a loyalty program or, like you said, the Substack stuff, creating a new avenue, because I don't know. I feel like it's really tricky these days.
No, it really is. It's changed so much. Even just coming back to LA when I lived here, it was because I was just in the realm. I did like PR intern, and I lived with influencers, and I hung out with influencers, and I wanted to be an influencer, and I was so in it. It is a completely different landscape.
Yes.
It is. The girls who were cool then are not even cool anymore. I'm like, it's not even the same girls that like you see out. And the girls that are thriving are like, they truly have an understanding of fashion. You have to have it's become a business. And you have to have a real business sense now. And I feel like people who are like, I want to do this, I want to start a fashion line, or I want to be an influencer, I want to blow up on TikTok, whatever. I'm like, it's a business now. You're entering a business. This is not. It's not cutesy and fun and it's a business.
But even then, I hear all the time that people are having a hard time keeping their followers and or growing. Yeah. So that's just a pure indication of what's to come. And that applies for businesses too. Like, I feel like the rise of our followers has like capped.
Yeah, you do. Oh, you cap. That's a real thing. Capping out is a real thing. It is very, very, very real. And then you become like a flash in the pan. Yeah. And then it's like you're gone. And then you're not. And then some other girl is taking over, and she's the new thing. And it is creating longevity. I feel like is such an important element of it. And I've been blown away by the way that social media has changed and like what is cool now. And just coming back to LA, I'm like, this is just not what was cool when I was in it. And I was a little younger, and just not that I'm old, but just 5 years ago, it was totally different scene of girls, a totally different.
So pre-pandemic,
yeah. I moved to New York during the pandemic.
Okay, so I think the pandemic changed a lot.
It changed everything.
It did change everything, and then something happened where there was a shift where people stopped going to events, and then also stopped sharing everything they're being gifted, and they just stopped sharing everything in general. I think they're now selective, and they kind of pick and choose, which is all great. Everybody has their strategy, and so that makes it harder for brands to really get that exposure. And I think it also makes it so that other people, like, they're trying to build, like you said, a business. So they feel like if they share everything, that they might dilute their content. I also feel like social goes through waves, right, of like who's popping, I guess, but also people get older, so they dwindle down, and like the things that they're into change, right? So like you have a lot of girls who are, like you said, they're happening at the moment, but then they get married and have a baby. And so what they're pushing forward is different. They're less engaged, they care less, and they've at this point either created a brand or they have other venues of business coming through. So it's not as important.
That's true. And a lot of people that were in a certain realm not aged out, but you're right, they moved into a different phase of their life.
Yes.
And now it's like different girls that are the on the scene girls, and then those girls are all married and having kids, and it's a totally different vibe.
For sure.
And it just, yeah, I don't know. Social is crazy as from the perspective of a brand owner. And when I ask girls like, what do you want to do? And they're like, I want to start a brand. And I'm like, okay, it's got to differentiate. You're going to have a lot of competition.
Yes.
Do you have experience with that? It also, I feel like having a brand isn't always very much fun.
No.
And I think they think it's going to be fun. And I'm like, I think it's not going to be fun. Just because I have so many friends in the industry, I'm like, she doesn't always look like she's having a very good time.
No, I mean, I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I will say, while people think that like I could just be sitting there pumping out content about other things, I'm mostly sitting in front of my computer, staring at a screen, staring at finances, staring at plans, strategy, this, that, and the other. Like it's a real job. I know it looks glamorous, and it is. It has its perks, but the majority of it is very, very tedious. And
I would not want a brand. People always say, you have to start a brand because that's what you do. You start, that's the next step. You start, and I'm just like, I don't think I ever would. I don't think I ever would. The idea of having like merch sounds fun, but I'm just like, I just don't think it is like a 24 hours. You have to love it. You have to live and breathe it. And there's nothing that I'm like, oh, I want to live and breathe this. And I was a buying intern, and that was probably the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life.
Buying is hard to literally sit there and sift through all the options that are out there and decide this is what's going to sell in this store.
And it's all math.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much math. And I just was like, wait, I thought this was like, and I remember them telling me on my first day, they were like, you're not going to be hanging out with Kim and Kanye. This was years ago. But they were like, you're not going to be hanging out with Kim and Kanye. You're going to be here at this desk. You're going to open boxes and you're going to do math. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not what I thought when I was going to have my summer in LA.
Yeah.
And I sat down and did it. And I just was like, this is the most boring, unenjoyable, tedious thing. But that's what you have to do if you have a brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to plan those things, and you have to have such a business prowess. And it does not appeal to me in any way. I always try to help my brand friends because I'm like, here, this person offered me, so you go work with them, you go do this, you go. I don't want any part of that.
That's really nice of you, though.
Yeah, you got to help out. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that come my way that I'm like, I don't sell anything, so I don't need it. But I know somebody that does.
Yeah.
Just because of the realm that I'm in. But yeah, I don't. What I would sell, I couldn't even begin to guess.
You have such a background in the industry.
I interned everywhere. I worked I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I thought I would just bounce around. And then I was like, I think I had this idea like, oh, if I work in PR, I'll just become famous one day. And I despised being on the other side of it. And I was like, no, I want to be the girl that's coming in and picking up the bags of free stuff. I don't want to be packing her shoes in the back anymore. Yeah. Were you ever a PR intern?
No.
That's like the rite of passage is the LA PR intern. And it's probably one of the just worst fashion jobs. I would say tough. Styling was the worst job I ever had.
I was going to say, I worked as a stylist for many years, and I used to actually do like a lot of men's styling. So it's
Me too.
a lot easier in comparison, less things.
Yeah. I have nerve damage in one of my hands from hangers.
Oh, no.
From carrying hangers hooked to my hand all the time and having to like walk it to a shoot or walk it up. We're going to shoot on this mountain. So you're going to hike to the top and you've got to get it there. And there's no parking, so carry it.
Yeah.
Literally, like I get these like shooting pains of like numbness, and it's from hangers hanging on my hand for like a year straight.
Wait, I think I have that too then.
It's from hangers.
I always thought it was from Pilates.
It's from hangers.
Okay.
It's from carrying, because you walk around like this all the
day.
time. Anyone that says they dream of being a stylist, or any girl I meet that's like, do you have an internship position or whatever? And I'm like, what do you want to do? And they say stylist. I'm like, no, you don't.
You don't want to, but then also these are the things that shape you and help create a career for you down the line.
Yeah.
And it also, like you said, like helps you decide what you want to do or you don't, because you experience it. You're like, nope, that's not for me.
I interned everywhere. I worked for free everywhere.
Yeah.
I did so many photo shoots for free. I can't even, like, it was insane. And I was like, well, that took 13 hours. I did like a 16-hour shoot one time. I didn't make a dime.
What?
I was so tired on the way home. I was hallucinating on the drive home. I had not slept. I stayed up all night. We had to ship everything back that night. So we had to we received it, stayed up all night, had to unpack it, had to get it ready, had to take it to the location, had to do the shoot, and then had to go back, pack it all up, and send it back to Europe. And it was, I was literally hallucinating. I was like driving, and I was like, I can't even see anything.
It's delirium.
And I didn't get paid $1. I think I got a free lunch and some dried mango snacks that they were like, and they kept telling me to stop eating. I was like, I'm dying. What do you mean? I'm in the desert.
That's happened to me too. I did a 4-day music video that was basically from 4 in the afternoon to 4 a.m. for 4 days straight. And in between, I had to like do my rounds, and I never got paid. And
you're responsible financially for all of the clothes.
Yes.
I would always tell people that. I was like, oh, they made me get a credit card.
They did?
Forced me to get a credit card. And I was like young, and I just didn't, I was so happy to be there. And I just was like, okay, I have to do this. The person I was working for, remain nameless, was like, well, you need to get these clothes. And I was like, I can't pick them up. They want a card for all of this. I was like, it's like $6,000 worth of suits. They want a card. And he was like, don't you have a credit card? And I was like, is that what people do? Is that how a stylist gets clothes?
Yes.
And I was like, they wanted a deposit, or they needed something from me, whatever it is. Because the clothes are on loan. But I'm like, wait, so if something goes missing, I'm on the hook for these $850 pants. And
wow.
It was just, and then like people steal things.
Yes.
The stylist is the one that has to pay for it. If you steal a piece of jewelry, that stylist is the one who signed her name on it, or his or her name, put it on their credit card. They made me get a credit card. They made me take all these clothes. I was terrified the day of the photo shoot, because I was like, oh my God, they have thousands of dollars taken out on this credit. Like, nothing can go missing. I'm responsible for all this. You can't stain anything. It was just, it's the dark side of fashion.
For me, those types of things help me understand how much I need to do for my brand to be successful. And also that, like, there's no task that is beneath me. Like, I will do anything that it needs to be done for the sake of my brand, whatever that may be. If I need to take out the trash, or if I need to respond to customer emails myself, whatever it may be.
You respond directly to the customers?
I don't, but sometimes, like, if there's something happening, because we're closed on the weekends, like, if someone has a major issue, I'll jump in and, like, I'll deal with it myself.
That's a real brand owner.
Yeah, or, like, if it's a Thursday night at 12 o'clock at night, like, I'll take care of it. Like, at the end of the day, it's my baby, and I want to help any situation that I can, but I've definitely paid my dues.
You kind of have to. And the girls who like jump into it, I'm like, oh, Godspeed. I'm like, you don't know what you're signing up for. So we ask everybody that does It Girl, who is your ultimate It Girl? Who are some It Girls that inspire you?
I think the ultimate It Girl is still and forever Kate Moss.
That's mine! Oh my gosh. Capricorn girls, that is mine. That is mine.
She's the boss. Kate Moss, the boss. But I think outside of her, I really love Zoe Kravitz.
Yes. Oh, her style is incredible.
I think she's so just interesting and unique. And I think just all of it, the cheekbones, the tattoos, love it all. And then outside of her, obviously, there's the current It Girls, like all the Haileys and stuff. But I actually feel like there's, again, Courtney Grow. I feel like as far as influencer space right now, she's kind of one of my favorites. But yeah, I think that Kate Moss rules it all.
Oh, Kate Moss. She's just she is mine. Like, she's effortlessly cool. She's long lasting. They're always trying to bring her down. I feel like all those models of that era, Naomi Campbell, just all of those girls, they always are trying to like bring them down. And they're like, no, we're genuinely too cool.
Yeah.
You could never make us look uncool. You can try, but we are always going to be fabulous. Like, they run off and they marry whoever they want, whenever they want. And they marry princes or whatever. And then they come back and then they're like, I'm having a baby. Okay, now I'm doing this. Now I'm starting a brand. Like, they're too cool. Like, they genuinely don't care what people think. And so, no, Kate, I love Kate Moss so much.
But
She's
also, what's cool is that they were so big, especially during a time when there wasn't social media, and it was just this mystery around them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what adds to their it factor, that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
So when you see them, you're like, oh my gosh, give me more, and it's never enough.
Yeah, I do feel like that's one of the things that I think contributes to the whole flash in the pan social media It Girl is I've felt it with people. I'm like, okay, I've taken in too much of you. This is too much. Like, this is just, we get beaten down with them.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, because one of the things that's important to me is like getting rid of all the It Girl hate and the way that like there is a dark side to it. Even when it was those girls, there's a horrible dark side to the media. That's one of my like biggest passions with being in media, is creating a positive space in media. There's such a dark side to media. There's such a dark side to social media. Yeah. And they didn't escape it just because it was that time. It was just like, it was in a newspaper instead of on Instagram.
Yes.
But I do feel like because when someone gets popular. Like, look at Alex Earl. Like, they shove her down our throats. I love her. I think she's great. I think she's so sweet and harmless and fun and whatever. But, like, they shove her down everybody gets just this influx of her. And then all of a sudden the hate comes. And then people get mad. And then they're like, I don't want to see this girl again. And I see the hate comments come in. I'm like, oh, everybody loved her. And now everybody's turning on her because you can become too popular.
Yes.
And so I feel like that lack of mystery is why the it girls. Is there anything that you think is like a big misconception about it girls?
I feel like people think that they are not humans.
Yeah.
And that they don't have real feelings.
Yeah.
I think what makes it it girl and it girl, in my opinion, is this level of confidence that allures you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to get more from them. But I think what happens is people forget that they don't have their own insecurities and they're actually have emotions and feelings as well. And so, you know, like you said, people do have this dark side and they start tearing you down. But it's like, hi, I'm a real person and I'm just trying to work, or I'm just trying to create a business, or whatever it may be. And these people are just hindering their motivation or their confidence. And I just think that's kind of really not cool.
No, I completely agree. There's so many girls that I interview that I'm like, if you met her, you would never, you would not talk to her. Like, she's the sweetest, or she's so nice, or she's so smart, or so interesting, or I sat and talked with her for an hour. Like, and they get so much hate, and I see the hate come in, and I'm just like, because she's cool and pretty. That's her crime.
I listened to this podcast actually recently with Megan Fox.
Yeah.
And Megan Fox was actually really smart.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, and I had no idea. And you see how much negativity she gets for whatever reasons. And she obviously has a lot of it girl factors as well. And I was so surprised. And she was expressing how she was so sad and, you know, she has all these insecurities. And it's like, hi, wake up and realize, like, you're really hurting someone's core and they're just trying to be them.
They're just trying to enjoy themselves. And there's enough space for everyone to enjoy themselves. And I feel like the New York girls really have this down. It's like, there's no jealousy, there's no meanness, there's no competition. It's like, at least the ones I am around. And like in LA, I just didn't find that. And I was like, gosh, people being pretty and nice and sweet, like, and cool and popular is not to harm anyone. Like, they're just because these girls are like, I will see hate comments come in. I'm like, she's the nicest girl. You would love her if you spent 5 minutes with her. Like, she's so lovely and smart, and there's more to her than this. And I just, I do think that's a really important message, is like, these are people.
Yeah.
Like, just because someone's a it girl does not mean you have to hate on them, does not mean you have to tear them down. There's enough space for everybody. And I feel like that's very important to remember.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming today. This was amazing. Oh, do you want to plug your socials? Plug Clyque socials, your socials.
Yes, so I can be found at Lily Adel on Instagram, and Clyque is at Clyque the Label, and it's clyquethelabel.com.
Make sure to check out Clyque. I'm a huge fan. The fabric is amazing. It's so beautiful. And my Instagram is Bailey T. Taylor. Yet again, some 10-year-old somewhere has my username. To the Bailey Taylor that has my username, hit me up. I need it. So Bailey T. Taylor, It Girl the Series, and Bespoke TV. This was Lily Adel, who runs Clyque the Label. We're so happy we got to have her. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.